Hello, welcome to day 5 of 73, and today I'm going to be talking about the realities of mental chatter. Now, throughout this whole series, I don't know if I've been intentionally giving this impression, but things aren't always peachy. For example, today I almost didn't post because one, I slept in. And so I was feeling quite cranky going into the morning. And then throughout the day, I felt as though I wasn't handling a lot of situations the way that I usually would because I missed my morning meditation. And that spiraled into me getting into it with my 4 year old. Yeah, my 4 year old, who understandably doesn't yet necessarily have the tools to be able to deal with his emotions right now. And so in my mind, I was thinking, he said, what? Finish him. But obviously I didn't. But the thoughts are there a lot of the time whenever you are trying to do anything that is going to improve yourself from a personal level. Now, it is very important that one not only hears those voices, but understands that there is a gap between what that mental chatter is and what it is that you ultimately do on your side. Now, most of you are probably familiar with the whole concept of what Mel Robbins, I think, talks about, where you give 5 seconds before initially acting on something that you're feeling uncertain about or wanting to change or wanting to be courageous about, which is quite true. If you don't give yourself enough time to fall into a mental spiral, then ultimately you can be able to move on to the next step. I completely agree with that. But in extension to that as well, it's being able to understand that as much as your intent is going through to there has to be an underlying feeling of love and respect for yourself and for the journey that you're taking. So, what do I mean by that? A lot of the time, you may find that your mind might be, I always liken it to a corporate boardroom where there are a lot of voices, there are a lot of people being able to chip in and talk about what it is exactly that they feel is the most correct route of action in that particular moment. And more often than not, if you're wanting to go against the current of what you're used to in your brain, there are always going to be the dissenting voices. There are always going to be the voices that, if we're going to my example today, I slept in. There was one fellow in that boardroom who was saying, just quit. Why are we posting these videos anyway? Or, for example, if again, I'm going into a tiff with a toddler who's only just trying to figure out the controls. I need to be obviously more patient, but yet there is a voice saying, well, you've tried your best. Meet him at this energy level. And obviously that wouldn't have turned out well. So understanding that those particular moments are definitely going to be there. And the only way that you can be able to address that is being able to embrace it with love and understanding. You are growing. You are trying to do something that up until this point in your life, you haven't even fathomed mentally. Yes, you can watch the motivational videos. Yes, you can be able to have a vision board that is so detailed and filled with all the great things that you would want to manifest. But if you do not have love and acceptance for yourself in that moment, it is going to be much harder for you to now make those steps moving forward. And so, one thing that I always want to be able to remind myself is, I don't know, even if this feels or sounds cheesy, giving yourself a mental hug, understanding that things are going to be rough and leaning into it. I was talking to my wife at the end of today about how I felt I handled the situation, and she was able to remind me, even though those thoughts were in my head, the best thing that I did was being able to lean in and understand that this is a whole journey, a whole process in which you do that. And going back to me trying to improve myself in the drinking perspective, it was always being able to understand that it is something that is going to take time. But ultimately, if the intent has an underpinning of love, then I'm going to be fine. Okay? There's a saboteur right there in your head. You can be able to silence them not by force, but by love and understanding. So as long as you're reaching out in that fashion, I feel as though you can always have patience and love for yourself. Thank you.